morning.
Good morning. This is
Episode 104.
Yeah, episode 104. Coffee with the Summerland Kids. Cheers. Good morning, Coffee with Summerland Kids. And it is August 29th. It's my little brother Credence's birthday up in heaven. Happy birthday, Credence. And currently the weather in Summerland and probably in heaven is 60 degrees on a morning. And then it's going to be 72, mostly sunny. So another one of those, like, I guess pretty much perfect, almost like kind of just mellow Summerland perfect days. It's not extremely hot. I mean, 72, that's pretty warm, right? I mean, it's not, it's on the upper side of, I mean, I guess between 70 and 80 has got to be pretty freaking comfortable, right?
Oh yeah, I think for me that's still wearing the t-shirt at about 72. I
Yeah,
guess the shirt
definitely,
might
right?
come off around 82.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, 72 would be like, do people set their thermostats? I can't remember what they set the thermostats to. Would it be like, I don't know, if you don't have AC, but or maybe you do have AC. I don't know. I mean, what's the
I
comfortable?
set usually my AC, it's not like a full house one. I got two different window ones,
Okay.
but they run at about 72.
Okay. So
The summer
that's like
they'll
nice.
they'll
Yeah.
kick off every now and then if it's not super hot. Um, and so yeah, if it gets down to
That's
72
cool.
in the summer, that's pretty good. And then in the winter, I would say that I don't quite set it at 72 for the heater. I think I set it around 70.
Oh,
Just get it up above
yeah.
68, 69. It's my perfect temperature because I wake up here and it's about 69 degrees, and that's about perfect. And it
Yeah.
stays about perfect until noon, at least this time of year.
Right.
Right
That's
there in
cool.
the high 60s, low 70s is just about perfect, if you ask me.
Yeah. Yeah. And did you ever go to Stacky's Seaside when you were, after you left, of course, and came back? Did you ever
Yeah,
go?
I did go have
Yeah.
a Stackies. I haven't had a Rusty's there yet.
Okay. Yeah. Me neither. But I think Stacky's actually did some breakfast stuff, if I recall. And Tinker's maybe not so much. Maybe Tinker's mostly lunch, but of course the Summerland Beach Cafe, that's been going forever. That restaurant right by the Nugget, So, anyways, that's the old slash our old stomping grounds. But yeah, so yesterday, sort of finished up with the estate sale myself. It's still it's interesting because it still kind of keeps going on because with they put a pretty good dent in it, but yesterday, I think either yesterday or the day before yesterday, I helped them load up a bunch of shelves because some people they don't really realize, like, wow, what I actually purchased stuff I can't even, it's too big to load it right now. So I got to come back later and pick it up. So one guy got all the garage shelving, and the lady's husband and I loaded up the garage shelving and put a big strap around it and tried to make it so the shelves wouldn't fall out in the transport. And then one man picked up two boats, like a sailboat and a aluminum power boat, little like fishing boat kind of a thing. And
Nice.
yeah, so a couple cars sold. There was a little minivan and what was the other car? A BMW, like a 1990, older BMW, mid 90s BMW. So they did good on moving stuff, but it sometimes it does take a little bit on the process of you'd have to be super on your game to like have it all roll on the same day. I mean, you'd have to
Oh yeah.
you'd
So
have
what did you like check the Kelly Blue Book value
yeah,
on
yeah, a
the
little bit of that. Yeah,
the
for
van
sure.
or whatever, the truck, and did you guys like sell it at value, or did you guys like
Uh,
wholesale it out?
I would say, I mean, 6 grand, for the 6,000. So I think one guy, the guy who purchased the little minivan, he's like, he was really kind of a funny guy. He does auto detail. He's probably like our age, maybe a little older, and but he's one of those kind of like happy-go-lucky guys who's like, yeah, I do auto detail. I'll make this thing amazing. Like I'm gonna do drunk Uber. I'm gonna park outside the bar. He's got a whole like thing going in his head about what he's gonna do with the van. But when I met him the second time, he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna freaking he said he looked it up on the internet and he's like, oh man, it's one of those ones where it's not the best year make model, but I'm just gonna like wash it, wax it, shampoo the carpets, da 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 da, and probably flip it, you know. Um, but it's a super clean little van, good little Dodge van, and so that stuff. And then I sat down yesterday with a couple of folks from Texas, and they were just visiting. And it's interesting because sometimes people, they go on vacation. Maybe they go to the same place every year. So they might come here once or twice or even 3 times a year. They come visit, and they try to tell themselves, we're not going to go to any sales. We're not going to any estate sales. We're not going to yard sales. But they're like, they have their own, like, let's say, their own antique dealing business on their own. So they really couldn't help themselves. They're like, oh, let's just stop into the store. And so we met them at the store, and he picked a couple things that he liked, and he was definitely going after the old stuff. Like I think he found an old photograph that kind of even looked like him, old gray guy with a beard, classic old like little porcelain picture, and then he got an old like might have been from an old car back in the old days. Cars used to have little lights that actually hung on the car or something. So really
Yeah,
antique kind of.
yeah.
So he was pulling like American history straight up, like cool stuff. And then my boss, she said, the estate sale, we can give you a private showing because there's still a lot of stuff there. So I met them at the location, and he literally picked all the cool stuff that I would have picked myself. That people sometimes it's almost like beyond the normal scope of, I would say the 95% or something like that, or so he's picking on a different level of consciousness. Like picture of the Golden Gate Bridge being constructed, where it was like it's a poster, but it's framed, and then another framed poster of like the Lusitania, I guess a boat that sank a long time ago. Um, Picture of the I kind of like for you, it was old man of the sea, like an old sea captain at the helm. The classic shot of, and it was like a print slash, you know, um, original art style kind of a thing. So just all the really cool, like I want to say, elder statesman, historical artifact, framed art kind of stuff. He pulled all that stuff right away, and it fell 50% off. So all the $75 marks turned to 35s or something. So well, you can't beat those deals when you're looking at
Yeah,
50%
once you
off.
get that stuff in your blood,
Yeah,
once you get that stuff in your blood, you can go anywhere, and you're always going to be,
yeah,
oh, I got to find this, I got to get that.
yeah,
That looks
yeah,
cool. And like you're saying, once you have that knowledge about, what is valuable, what people buy, what people are interested
yeah,
in, um, you really can find the
yeah.
deals. Like you're saying, you went through and probably did some research on certain items and found similar items, or maybe even the
Right,
exact same items, and said, "Oh yeah, these are valued at seventy
or
five
higher. Yeah,
bucks." And and then if you're a dealer or you do your own selling and you can get it for
yeah,
35 bucks, well, there's 35 bucks built in, especially if you have the
yeah,
clientele. I find a lot of these antique people, it's their client list, it's their clientele that they already have, kind of established that they have buyers, or they have, a marketplace where people are coming in and looking for these things, because some of these things are really
yeah.
hard to find. You don't
Right.
find them every
I know
day.
when I was going through my grandpa's collection, certain things wouldn't come up on eBay, and then maybe even not even on Google Lens. But the cool thing about Google Lens is similar items come up, and so that's always fascinating to see what's similar, and what's similar you've never seen yourself before ever, even. But it's very like it's along the same subject matter, you know, and that makes it fun, just to see new stuff um, through the process. And then I guess these folks had a huge warehouse, like I can't remember how big, maybe it was either, I want to say probably more 20 or 40,000 square foot warehouse, put it that way. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
that's a
yeah.
big one
So
there.
it's almost
That's
like
a big one.
they have a
So,
place to put their stuff that's as big as a shopping as big as our supermarket. So so
well, that's important, because when you're doing this kind of stuff, wholesaling, flipping, um, you got to have some way to store and organize it because you're not going to pick something up and then have it sell the very
right.
next day. You're going to have to, kind of hold on to it, maybe clean it up like you were saying with the guy
Yeah.
detailing the van, um, do some minor repairs and actually list it and offer it up for sale before you can realize any of the potential profits
Yeah.
on that. Having a big warehouse is definitely a good thing because I know some people that do it and they're working out of like a
Right.
storage locker, maybe a 10 by 10 or something. And everything starts getting packed in there. You don't really know
Yeah.
what you have. You don't really know, you don't really put the time into marketing. People don't realize that you see these videos online or you hear these TV shows where they're like, oh, yeah, we got this item and we made $500 profit on it. But those people have a client list. Maybe they know someone specific that's looking for that hood ornament on
Right.
the car, or like you're saying, the hanging light, the old
Yeah.
school lights. um, or they have a place, or they have an event where people like these car shows. A lot of times you get these fancy car shows where all the new cars are, but sometimes you get these car swap
Hmm.
meet kind of things where you get all these classic old cars, classic old parts. And a lot of times, if you're trying to complete a car, you would probably know a
Yeah.
little bit about that. If you're trying to complete an old classic car, there's certain pieces, certain parts that you
Yeah.
just gotta have.
Absolutely. Like the little.
And sometimes they're not
Yeah.
easily available. You can't find that piece of trim or that hood ornament or that specific thing that you need. So it's definitely potential business for those that have the knowledge and foresight and willingness
Yeah.
to put in the
Exactly. One
effort.
amazing one is the Pomona swap meet in of course in Pomona. It's a car swap meet at the Fairplex Pomona, and these guys are super early birds. I mean, I think they're, if I recall, they may even have some people coming in the day before. Of course, the event people are there the day before, but then the vendors come in. They might even start lining up at 4 in the morning or 3:30 or some crazy thing like that. Where these guys are, they're way,
Oh
way, way
yeah.
before dawn, and they got to set up their stuff. And some of them have really elaborate setups with tables, and they got their science down. Like they've done hundreds of shows, and they lay out all their little items, whether it's on a tarp or a table, and it's all perfect. And then people come by, and sometimes you buy it, you don't even need it because it's so cool. You're like, you know,
Oh, this is the need it and the want it, and sometimes the
yeah,
things that you want come before the things you
right,
need for sure.
like yeah. So
Uh, I used to do, you know, uh, we call it shade, made in
okay,
the shade. We had sunglasses and hats and various things. And one of the events we did was a
oh wow,
cigar show, right? So that was pretty cool. We had a bunch of those kind of
yeah,
cigar hats, paper hats, whatever they're called. We had, signed up for the show and got accepted. And so when we were in LA, we bought a bunch of these kind of hats. We didn't make a bunch of money. I think we lost money, but it was super cool because all these cigar guys, and all these cigar gals, and um, oh, we're a
okay,
vendor, right? So all the vendors go and talk before the gates open, and oh, that's a cool hat. So we give them a hat, and they give us some cigars,
that's
and
cool,
um, then we ended up getting invited to one of these like little cigar parties where all the vendors were
nice,
invited, and I ended up with a bag about this big. It was just a bunch of
wow,
cigars. I think for that year, I had enough. I started smoking
classic,
cigars that year, which was kind of an
yeah,
interesting thing. Uh, But the vending side of things is really interesting because they, whether it's the car shows or these cigar shows or, like the
Yeah.
Pomona swap meet, a lot of times the
Oh,
people are
big time.
regulars and there's a
Yeah.
little community, you get kind of a little social community going of different people, um, you know, they get together on a regular basis and know each other, back, we used to do this thing in Cayucas,
Oh,
the
okay.
vendors fair, right? A peddler's fair. I think they called it
Cool.
a peddler's fair. And so every year we'd go to this peddler's fair and we'd sign up next year. And every year, you get a spot. You're
Oh,
allowed to
nice.
camp, which was kind of part of the cool deal is camping in Cayucas. And all these people that show up every year, you get to know them. You get to see, oh, you're at the swap meet. And you say, hey, are you going to the fair, the vendor, the peddler's fair next year? And so there's like a cool little thing that happens, as far as
Yeah.
like
No,
community,
for
I
sure. And
guess.
there was some of that happening at the estate sale where folks run into each other because they're also pickers. You know, the people that they regular their regular weekend thing is definitely to go to go out to yard sales and garage sales every weekend. So they run into each other. The same faces run into each other all the time, which is kind of fun. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So and the
It's super
conversations
cool.
that happen over items and it's interesting. Some people,
I'm getting
yeah, the kitty
distracted by
or the bunny,
the
yeah,
bunny.
classic.
The
So
bunny.
yeah, people strike up conversations based on items too. They'll pick something up and be like, oh my god, remember my grandfather had one of these and da da da, and then someone else walks up and they know all about it. You know, so it's like it's almost like being reading the description on eBay about a specific item, but this person knows more about the item than anybody else in the world. you know, yeah,
Oh yeah, it's awesome. The conversations are just so interesting when you're at these things. Whether you're a vendor or whether you're just going to go look at stuff, potential customer.
yeah,
Um, the conversations are going to be very interesting, very
yeah.
enlightening. I remember one of the guys at this peddlers fair. He was a
Okay.
motorcycle guy, so he'd have all this motorcycle
Oh,
and
cool.
surf stuff. So he was like kind of a hybrid, a motorcycle
Yeah,
surfer, a motorcycle
yeah.
skateboarder. He'd have all these old school
Oh, nice.
skateboards, old helmets, all these old parts, as far as like motorcycle parts, and he was just entertaining
Yeah,
as heck.
that's
Um,
awesome.
maybe in the afternoon. In the morning, he'd be a little grumpy. Some of us were, but by the afternoon, he'd be
Yeah,
great fun. If it's not super
right.
busy, you walk around and talk to these other vendors, and oftentimes buy stuff
Yeah.
from
I was
these
just
other
thinking like how
vendors.
at those fairs where I think we're gonna go to one tomorrow. My buddy and I will have to see what's up, recheck in, but it's um it's like a some sort of swap that they do Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I think. And what's happening is I realized that the pickers and the vendors essentially they go out and hunt. So they're going out and literally fishing for items that they like and they know they're going to be selling them, reselling them. So it's treasure hunting on a massive scale, on a bunch of individual bases, and then they bring that all together and they set up their little tables and their little tents and whatever they do to share it with the public. So you really get a wide, super wide variety, I want to say, of potential. Some of the swap meets, like in Santa Barbara, in some cases, kind of turned into a little more new, like new stuff, which also is kind of trippy when, it's nice to get new stuff too at the swap meets and sales. Like, if you're going to get wholesale, good deal on t-shirts or socks or underwear, there's always that at those kind of places too, where the people that maybe go to downtown LA and get super deals by the dozen, by the case, and then they bring it to the swaps, and then they make a few bucks on each sale, which that's cool too. I mean, it's not all about the old antiques these days. I mean, a lot of times people are selling other items that are newer but needed, I guess you'd say, or newer but you know,
Yeah, like
yeah,
the t-shirt guy. I mean, he was almost at every swap meet or oftentimes a lot of these events. And that was his gig. He had a variety of t-shirts, a variety of sizes, and the
Okay.
prices were right, where he could go, I guess, $10 each or three for
Okay.
25. If you went to somewhere like a shop or like in Pismo, the Hot Shots Billiard, they got the little section up front where they got just tons and tons of different t-shirts, and I think they're about
Right.
25
Yeah.
bucks each. So you can either spend 10 bucks for one or three for
Yeah.
25 at the
Yeah.
swap meet guy. Another thing that's like, I don't know if everyone realizes this or if it's still going on, um, but some of these vendors that I know that um, were regulars, like when they would go to the swap meet, a lot of times the people going to the swap meet are moving or just trying to liquidate something. And so at the end of the day, whatever they don't sell goes into
Oh
the
yeah.
dumpster. And so a lot of times these old guys or these regulars that know what they're looking for, they're more than one occasion I know people have, at the end of the show they're all packed up ready to go and they'll stop by the dumpster and see what all the other uh, one timers or liquidators or movers have left in the garbage and actually restock their inventory from
Wow.
the garbage. Maybe it didn't sell that weekend, but it could be, a $50 or $100
Right.
item that the person's trying to get 20 or 30 bucks for it and nobody bought it that week. So they just throw it in
Wow.
the dumpster. And then so these regulars will go by and, dumpster dive, for lack of a better term, dumpster dive these
Yeah.
leftovers and actually be able to really stock up their inventory and turn it into
Yeah.
a profit. Just the mere fact of going there regularly, having their customers that come and know what they're looking for. um, it's on more than one
Yeah.
occasion. I've even
Right.
done it myself, maybe not for resale, but going, you're throwing that out? No, no.
Right.
I mean, of
I,
course, and then there's the free items on Marketplace and Craigslist. I
yeah.
don't know how many things in my life are free. In fact, the Lance camper, the cab over camper, that was a
That's
freebie,
amazing. Yeah.
and that's a $5,000, $6,000 item. I don't know what this rabbit is
Yeah.
doing. He's in here chewing something. Oh, he's chewing the
Oh God.
cable. Oh, he loves the cable. He loves to chew the cable.
Yeah. Grab that guy.
Okay, we don't use that cable.
Yeah.
Let him
Yeah.
chew it. He's a little
Yeah. No,
chew
I can
bug, man.
imagine.
Oh, he's an interesting little character. He comes up to the
Right.
cat, right, and just right up face to face and sniff sniff, and the cat kind of, they seem to be
Yeah.
friendly. They play a little bit. It's like the bunny will come up and hop, and Billy will give it a little paw, and then the rabbit will hop
Yeah.
around, and it won't
Yeah.
take off. It won't like
Right.
run from them. It'll
Right.
run
Wow.
towards them, and so they'll play, and it's
Like
it's it's
face
kind
off.
of funny.
Yeah.
They do a little bit more than face off. They actually
That's
play.
awesome.
Um, you know, the bunny will come and jump and try and then the cat, and then you can tell that the cat does this thing where it'll paw, and it
Oh,
won't
that's
let its
good.
claws out. It'll come
Yeah. Yeah.
paw me or swat,
Classic.
and it's kind of funny because the other cat doesn't. The other cat she claw
Oh
you right
wow.
off the bat.
Yeah. Yeah.
Meow. And so the bunny won't go and bother her too much. I think the bunny's
Yeah.
gotten
The
it a couple
boundaries.
times, but little boys seem to play. They get little rambunctious
Right.
boy energy,
No,
and
for sure. That's cool. That's amazing. Yeah. So back to the regular schedule. I'm probably gonna work on Grandpa a little bit today. Jump back into the file and start refilling the binders because it's been a busy month. Running to I closed the office down early in the month, and then I think literally that same week I took off to California, did that trip, and then I jumped into that thing, and I literally worked like a 7 day stretch straight, shot, and then a few other random days. So it's been a busy, productive month, and now it's like shift back into gear, um, onto what's next. Um, I really want, yeah,
yeah. I guess it's got to feel kind of good to get off, get out of the grandpa's
yeah, for a
office
second,
and
yeah,
do something that makes a little bit of
yeah,
cash.
exactly,
in hand for you,
Yeah.
but I imagine that it's still kind of eating at you a little bit. Oh, I'm still sitting here. I'm still, in there. I don't know how much left you
Yeah.
got, or if you came to any, conclusions with your
No.
cousin and your
Yeah.
dad as far as what
I
you're going
know.
to do. Once it's all organized, it can
I
still
know
just sit
exactly.
there. Whether you decide, oh, I'm going to eBay these pieces off, or I'm going to
Yeah.
research, what museums might be interested or we might fit
Yeah.
in with.
Exactly.
Because I really don't personally know how that
I
all
know.
works, but I know that comic books, just the whole collectibleness of them and the individual books
Yeah.
have value.
Exactly.
So I don't know if you did like a running total or how much potential value is there in the
Yeah.
collection, but I imagine that it's quite
I know.
substantial,
I do.
if not several thousand, maybe 10,000 or
Yeah.
more um,
Yeah.
value.
Exactly.
But then of course you're taking the value of what they're worth, and then you got to understand how much time, and like you're getting paid for this estate sale thing. So obviously 100% of the money that comes in doesn't go to the beneficiary. Part of it goes to the lady running the
Yeah.
estate sale, which has to pay you. And so I guess that's something you'll figure out in time, because I imagine you don't want it just sitting
Yeah.
there. I mean,
Exactly.
worst comes to worst, you sell it off piece by piece, and at least you get a little bit of dough. Best case scenario, you find a high end museum that wants to curate that whole collection and maybe make you a reasonable offer for the entirety of it.
Exactly.
But it's so interesting, looking at things, like this. Oh, it's been a while since we did
Yeah.
a
No.
show and tell.
Totally.
I don't know where it came from, but it's like, okay, a little lunchbox. How valuable is that one little lunchbox? It's hard to say, until you go out and offer it. Like I get these things on my house that says, "Oh, you have this much value in the house," but is it really there? Not until I actually go sell it do I realize the
Yeah.
true
And
value
I
of
have
it.
like what is it? It's definitely a journey ahead of me in terms of like communicating with the museum, people, because in art galleries, for example, it's like a whole year in change sometimes before you get a show. You may they may book you in, but you're booked in for the next following year cycle because they're already like full or something. So I would imagine there's people that are um, like on the picker level for museums that are they're probably being communicated with a lot in terms of like certain like antiquities, let's say the Smithsonian or something. When something gets dug up, they're like, well, who's going to get this? Who's that digger working for? Who's that digger associated with to get that dinosaur to the Smithsonian? It's like, and then there's that. There's all the steps that need to be taken in order to get the dig done, them get them into crates, get them to the lab, get them preserved, all those steps that have to go along the way before before it's even in, and then it's planning to be shown. So it's a long, I want to say it's a lengthy step by step process that has to happen, and I'd like to see it be portfolioed. So the larger, substantial historical artifact paperwork, larger, like sometimes out of magazines that Grandpa kept, or just the original art, be put in those larger portfolios. But those cost money, and I got to like essentially raise the funds either from like a fan based raising funds, or the family has to pay to fund it themselves. So I have to like cross that bridge, say, look, do you want the fans to pay for it, or do you want to pay for it yourself? So it's one of those things that's up in the air right now as to who's paying the bill, because I've been paying the bill for a year now. Yeah,
You rented the
yeah,
office, you
yeah,
hired your
exactly.
buddy, you bought the
Yeah,
binders, you've been trading your ties for the
yeah, just doing little stuff.
sheets, you've been spending your
Yeah,
personal
exactly.
time.
Just to be respectful.
And it,
Yeah,
I don't know, because like with these estate sales, it's like some people are emotionally attached, and some people are like, no, just give me the money.
Yeah.
What's it worth? Give me the
No, that
bottom
I think
dollar.
I
Let's
know
get
you're
done with
right.
it.
That's
So,
that.
I guess that's something you got to work out between your
Yeah,
dad and your cousin and
because
you.
I know I have more attachment to it than anybody, just because I feel like a kindred spirit to my grandfather. It was my dad's dad, so he's a little less. It's like, oh, he didn't really follow his he followed his father's footsteps in some way by being a designer builder himself, um, but he didn't jump into cartooning. It wasn't like the son of you know Bill Wagon is a cartoonist too. No, I know it's happened in some cases, of course, with some families how they pick up the torch and keep going. But I did my own thing for years, and now it's time to sort of respectfully honor it. And I did learn a lot through the estate thing, and it does show you the different sides of the spectrum, just like you mentioned. Some people have a detachment, and some people are attached. So it's either you're heartfelt in it, or you're just like, hey, I just need the cash. There's two sides
Yeah,
of it.
yeah.
So yeah. Well, cheers, man. Another good show. Well, it was just 104. That was 104.
I think we are at 104.
Yeah, cool, man. Awesome, man. I'll see you manana. I'll reach out today online too and give you a heads up on what the schedule will be like for tomorrow.
Awesome.
So,
We'll
cheers. All
see you
right.
tomorrow,
Have a great
brother.
day, man. Cheers.